Hello and welcome to Culture Cast. Today we're going to be discussing a film called The Hunt. What an interesting film. A bit controversial though.
Yeah, I think controversial is the perfect word to describe this film.
Well, we are excited to learn about this movie. I'm Andy, along of course with Derek.
Hey, it's Uncle Buck. Just kidding, I'm Derek. Thanks for listening. I'd like to welcome our guests on the show. We have Annie, Annalise, and Greg. Welcome to Culture Cast. On the show, we talk about culture and then we cast it online.
Okay, so what can you tell us about this film, The Hunt?
Well, it is a film directed by Thomas Vinterberg.
Sounds German, right?
No, Danish.
I'm sorry, I just ate. I'm good.
No, the film is in Danish.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense. Sorry. Sorry for the confusion. Can you tell us, what happens in the film?
The film is about a kindergarten teacher named Lucas who lives in a Danish community who also struggles with family problems. His life only gets worse when he is falsely accused of raping one of his students, who happens to be the daughter of one of his closest friends, Theo.
Yes, and Theo's daughter Claire grows attached to Lucas and gives him a love letter and a kiss. Obviously, as a teacher and an adult in this position, he tells her not to do this, which makes her embarrassed and angry. As a result of this rejection, she tells the kindergarten director that Lucas had raped her.
Something to note is that Claire doesn't understand what rape is. She based these accusations off of pictures that her older brother had shown her on his phone. She did not understand the true severity of what she had done to Lucas. Lucas and his son were shunned by their entire community for what he was being accused of.
Wow, that is crazy.
Yeah, well, I was right.
To make matters worse for Lucas and the other children that's following suit with Clara, even though they have no idea what is really going on or what it means, what do you guys think about this?
Yeah, that's a good point. Why would the children feel the need to do something like this? A pretty big accusation.
Well, it's crazy that kids this young would come up with a story like this. I mean, it almost seems unrealistic for something like this to occur because all of the kids would have had to come together and make up the story.
Yeah.
Did they think it was some type of game?
Honestly, I don't really think it's that realistic. If you think about it, they don't really know the situation they are putting Lucas in or how grave the situation is for him.
Yeah.
And kids, they all follow what each other do and say.
Yeah, that's very true, you're right. Kids are right about that. Kids are very open to emulating what other people do, even if they are the same age. And on top of that, they are probably just looking for attention. I just find it crazy that all the parents believe such young kids. What do you guys think about that?
Makes sense to me. And as a parent myself, I have 17 kids of my own. One of my kids told me their teacher told them I'd kill someone.
And it is just what the parents of these kids did, essentially. They abused this man, ruined his life because of one lie that grew into a scandal, reaching every square inch of the town.
That's very true. So we have the plot of this film, but I want to know more about the director. What did you say his name was? Thomas Winterberger or something?
Thomas Vinterberg.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Thomas Vinterberg, yes. Tell us more about him.
Well, Thomas Vinterberg was the director of The Hunt as well as the producer and a writer.
The jack of all trades for this film, huh?
Yes, that's right.
Very cool stuff. Are all his movies as provocative as this one, or does he tend to reach out to a broader demographic with a wider genre of films? What do you guys say on that?
Well, to be honest, not really. He mostly emphasizes on dark subjects like sexual abuse. One of his movies, Submarino, is about drug addiction. He's always based his films on serious and controversial subjects.
Very interesting. And it's those type of movies I feel are the hardest to make, involving topics like that. It's very provocative.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine.
For real. So, do you guys think that he was involved in something in his childhood that makes him write stories like that?
Well, I read an interview with him, and he said that initially it was one case, and then he read about a lot of them. There are so many of cases like this, even in the United States. And of course, you never know if the people are innocent, but some of them definitely are.
That's crazy. Very interesting stuff.
Yeah, indeed. So I was wondering if we could do a little Q&A here on CultureCast.
Of course.
So what are the pinnacle aesthetic elements in terms of this film?
Well, a lot of the film was shot in dim light, which added an eerie and dark effect to the plot.
Dim lights. What else you got?
Well, a few of the shots were of the scenery around the barren town, and Lucas was walking all alone. This showed the viewer how lonely he was and made you feel sorry for him.
Ooh, it's getting deep in here.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, it was an emotional movie. The shots had to be deep.
So, were the characters just as dark as the visuals in this?
Yes and no. Lucas for sure seemed like a dark person.
Yeah, I mean, he had a dark personality as well, and his friends, as well as his friends in the film. The other characters, like the owner of the kindergarten or the mothers, pretty much the women in the film had a lighter side to them, while the men took on a darker side and personality.
Interesting. Does this say anything about the gender roles in the film?
I don't think that gender roles were a huge part in the movie, but the man and woman definitely approached the situation differently.
So, in what way?
Well, you have the women who were acting more apathetic towards Lucas, and they were shunning him, and the men, on the other hand, were very aggressive.
Exactly. The men were definitely more aggressive. For example, when he was at the supermarket and got beat up, all the people that beat him up were men.
Oh wow, he got beat up? That's insane. Alright, let's just transition. I'd like to know, what do you think is the significance of the film's title? Why do you think it's called The Hunt?
I'm actually glad you brought this up. The title is actually very ironic. What is interesting about this film is that the protagonist, Lucas, was initially a hunter himself. Then throughout the film, he goes from being the hunter to becoming the hunted.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Okay. So, and what do you mean by that?
Well, if I could jump in and answer this question, I think that she is referring to is that the director goes from the literal definition of what a hunter really is, like hunting animals, but once Lucas is deemed to be a pedophile, he is hunted by the community that he was previously hunting with.
That's exactly right. We see that the entire community, including his family, is against him, and the type of harm the community is putting on him is more mental than physical abuse.
So you think it's more mental than physical? What way?
Well, the people in the community threw rocks at his windows, beat him up in the supermarket, and shunned him. And while this is not your conventional way of hunting an animal, we could also think of hunting as being dehumanized. And they dehumanized him in the sense that he has nobody to talk to, and he is mentally afraid to communicate with others in the community.
Yeah, that is very sad. And I mean, from what I'm getting at here, from what you guys have been saying, I guess the scandal really changed him as a character. Is that true?
Yeah, definitely. It really showed how much he changed throughout the film. At the beginning of the film, he roamed the streets of his town in pride and was filled with joy when he entered the school. But then by the end, he always looked scared, and he was not happy when he had to go to the kindergarten for anything, and the children stopped bringing joy to him.
Jeez, what a poor guy. He did not deserve that, I guess. So, moving on, tell us more about the dialogue of these characters. What can you say about that?
Well, the dialogue...
I'd like to take this one as well. I've seen this film over 87 times, so I think I have a bit more to bring to the table.
All right.
Go.
So the dialogue is pretty basic. The interactions between the characters is nothing more than what you would see in real life. You really get a chance to see, and you really get a chance to actually feel like you're sitting right beside the characters in each scene. It's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah, true. So, not a whole lot of movies can pull that off, wouldn't you say? So, what do you think of that?
What's even more sensational about it, though, is the movie is spoken in Danish, and us Americans have to read the dialogue, and even with that, the conversations between the characters was extremely realistic.
That's very cool stuff. So I'd like to ask you a question now, Greg. I know you've been studying the characters of this film for decades now.
That's right. Go ahead.
So how did they appear to develop throughout the course of this film?
Who, the characters?
Yes.
Okay, very similar to the way people would react if this film were a reality. Lucas grew increasingly depressed as more and more people living in his town began to question his morals and values and began to see him as a menace to society. His best friend, the quote-unquote victim's father, turned against him, which was huge in the plot of the movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you could tell that they had a lifelong relationship which was torn apart by one little lie a young girl had told. It was only a little lie, but when you make an accusation like that, and especially if it's coming from a child, you cannot take that lightly, which is why you, in a way, have to sort of sympathize with the people who turned against Lucas, though you know the truth of what really happened.
Oh, that was horrible. The whole time I just kept screaming at the screen, "He is innocent! Give him a chance!" But they didn't listen to me. They just kept turning on Lucas, dehumanizing him. That little girl really ruined this poor guy's life. At the worst time, too, because his life was finally starting to turn into something wonderful. He had a growing relationship with one of the other employees at the kindergarten. He was about to be able to spend more time with his son. Then because of this girl, he slowly lost it all.
Oh man, that's horrible.
Really is horrible. Guys, I remember the one time I was a little bit younger, but I was accused of stealing a Pez dispenser from a CVS. My mom she was mortified, and she took my phone away for a month until I ratted out my little brother. So, I mean, I kind of get what Lucas was going through.
Okay, nice.
Different.
Okay, so back to the film. I understand there are a lot of signs that point to sort of a communal effort before and after the whole ordeal with Lucas.
Can you explain that more? I don't really see what you mean.
Okay, so when these accusations towards Lucas are made, does the community sort of work together against him? And after Lucas is proven innocent, is there a sort of remorseful rebuilding period, with Lucas and the rest of the community?
Those are very interesting questions. There really is a community here. You can tell as a viewer that from the beginning this is a very tight-knit town. It's truly the definition of community. Everyone knows everyone. Everyone knows everything about everyone else. When Lucas is being accused of child molestation, the entire town finds out within a matter of hours, and within days, he is essentially exiled from the rest of the community.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, over time, he's increasingly hated by the entire town. People look at him on the streets like a criminal because of the accusations being thrown around about him. Everyone seemed to know almost immediately. Parents especially hated him. Even his new girlfriend eventually turns against him, but we'll go into that in a minute. At Lucas's lowest point, it's basically just him, his dog, and his son. The godfather of his son is sort of steps in to help him out with whatever Lucas may need while he's going through this troubling time.
Yeah, it really was a troubling time. I mean, Lucas was banned from even shopping at the grocery store, and if that wasn't bad enough, they wouldn't let his son shop there either. They said it wouldn't look good for business and banned them both from stepping foot inside. I'm glad you mentioned the dog too, because just when you think things may turn around for Lucas, his life takes a turn to get even worse when someone kills his dog.
Jeez.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm accurate in saying this, but I kind of have a hunch that this dog that Lucas had was kind of like a symbol in the story.
Oh yeah, totally, big time. The dog was a huge part in the use of symbolism of the film.
Okay, so tell us more about it.
Well, I can tell you a little about the symbolism of the film, but Annie could actually do a much better job. She actually majored in dog symbolism in films over at Oxford.
Really?
Yes, it's true. Just have a master's degree in dog symbolism from Oxford after obtaining my bachelor's degree for quesadillas over at the Bean School. That's it.
Okay.
Interesting.
The Bean School, that sounds pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's cool. So tell us about the dog then.
Well, the dog's name is Fanny. She was essentially part of Lucas's family. Claire was obsessed with Fanny. She loved taking her on walks. The dog was what brought Lucas and Clara together. After the whole scandal, and while the town was against Lucas, especially Clara's family, Lucas stopped letting Clara see Fanny. This made Clara upset and start to realize what she was doing wrong.
And although she knew she did something wrong, she was being reinforced by her family and other members of the community that Lucas did in fact do something bad to her and that she didn't just remember. It was a repressed memory. The lie had turned into truth.
Precisely, and eventually the town grew so angry with Lucas that they killed Fanny, and Lucas had to bury her in the yard. Lucas's son wanted revenge, but Lucas would not allow that to happen.
So who killed the dog then?
We never found out.
Wow, damn, that's a shame. So how was Fanny a symbol then?
In a way, Fanny represented Lucas's relationship with Clara and her family. In the beginning, before the scandal, the dog brought Lucas and Clara together. When Lucas wouldn't let Clara see Fanny anymore, it was a metaphor to describe how Lucas felt he shouldn't be associated with Clara anymore. When Fanny was killed, it was like Lucas and his relationship with Clara and her family died and was buried, put in the past.
That's a good way to look at it. Truly unbelievable stuff.
Yeah, the environment during the burial of Fanny was dark, rainy, and gloomy, which helped set the mood for the scene. The shots are also zoomed into the characters' faces so you could really see the emotions on everyone's face. The camera is shaky, showing how Lucas is struggling, and it also seems cold and the leaves are falling off the trees, making it more eerie. When Fanny is found dead and during the burial, both Lucas and his son are wearing dark colors.
Yeah, that's a good point. Before the rock was thrown through the window, Lucas and his son were talking about Lucas's girlfriend. Then the happy mood was instantly killed when the rock was thrown. The scene then took a major turn when they went outside and saw Fanny dead in the garbage bag.
Honestly, I thought that Clara was dead in the bag.
Yeah. I find it interesting. You know, Lucas and his son, they seemed more angry than upset. Did anyone else notice that?
Yeah, I also noticed that. I think that Lucas was angry at that point because people were no longer just upset with him, but they were also taking it out on his family. Killing Fanny was not only hurting Lucas, but it really also hurt his son. And then in this next scene, Lucas' son was denied when he tried to buy groceries.
Oh yeah, that's really sad. So I can't believe anyone would think to do.
And that is actually all the time we have for today. Thanks for coming in, everyone. Thanks to the people listening. Check out The Hunt. It is quite the film.